Hello everyone, what's up? DAdvisoor here at Zug, Switzerland, actually for the first time, and I'm here with the managing director of the Frankencoin Association, Johannes. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me in this brand new studio we've built here in our little
Honor.
office we have in Zug. And thanks for coming by in Switzerland, man. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
by.
for the
Thanks.
invitation
Yeah.
and the incredible hospitality, and really an honor for me, and actually very exciting and a lot of fun to visit Switzerland for the first time, and Zug specifically. Um, Johannes, we talked about it, and we actually want to have this interview for a few reasons. Both to give like an introduction to new people who started following us. And I don't know if you noticed, but we just crossed 3,000 people.
Oh, we did.
The
Nice.
X, I think it was yesterday, actually.
Cool.
So shout out to the audience.
So all organic. No bots, no paid, nothing.
I don't know if there's no bots, but we haven't paid anybody.
Yes.
That's for sure. And also to give like a recap of 2025 and the journey that Frankencoin has been through throughout that time. Personally, you and I also actually had our first call, the interview on Leviathan News. It was actually in January 2025. So I think it will be kind of interesting, both for us and the audience for sure. But first and foremost, let's start with like a quick intro to whoever's watching it for the first time and hearing about Frankencoin for the first time. What is Frankencoin? What does it do? What benefits does it bring to users? How would you describe it?
With pleasure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me again. I mean, it's been a wild ride in 2025. We've started with a project which was there, it's been built, and we've basically started bringing it out into the world, and I believe we've done a quite okay job at doing that. There's a lot to do still, but I think we'll get to that. But I'm pretty happy with what we've built so far and what we've built in 2025, and I'm extremely excited for next year and the things which are coming. For the ones which are joining us for the first time, Frankencoin is the largest Swiss franc stablecoin. It's fully decentralized. It's live across many chains: Ethereum Base, Arbitrum, Gnosis Chain, Polygon, and many more. And why do we need this, right? Why do we need a Swiss franc stablecoin? Now, if you think about stablecoins in general, you can think about two different use cases. You have the one use case which most of know, and which is the first thing you think about: transactions. You want to send money A to B, you want to do payments, you want to do especially cross-chain or cross-border transactions. And if you do that, it's quite easy to just think in one currency, and that's currently the US dollar. And in matter of fact, about 99.8% of the 300 billion US dollars in global stablecoin volumes and market cap is in dollars. And that is exactly why, because you want to send money from A to B, it's easier to have one unit of account. There is a second use case, however, of stablecoins, and that is store of value. You might want to de-risk. You might want to store your hard-earned money in crypto or wherever it is, somewhere which is not as volatile as, for example, Bitcoin might be. And gold, is one of those things. And there's actually lots of studies about that. Like, what asset should you use if you want to protect your wealth? You're not about risk on, you're about risk off, about not losing what you have. And that's where the Swiss franc comes in. The Swiss franc over the last 300 years has shown to be the most resilient national currency, full stop. In fact, like since 1970, more or less, so it's a bit more than 50 years now, the dollar has lost more than 80% of its value against the Swiss franc. So, hold Swiss francs, that's what I'm basically saying. And that's why this whole case of bringing the Swiss franc on chain is so obvious. And however, it's not as easy to build it because of economical environments. You have a very low interest rate environment. You have some regulatory challenges. which makes it basically impossible to have centralized stablecoins. So a centralized stablecoin would be Tether, which is, purportedly one-to-one backed, or which is backed by a centralized entity where you can exchange your dollars into USDT. You cannot build that in Switzerland. So that's why the only choice you really have is to go with, and also the proper choice, because it makes a lot of sense for resilience perspective, from a risk management perspective, from a transparency perspective, to go the decentralized route, right? Where you think of MakerDAO, think of Skyfund, think of Liquidity. And that's what Frankencoin is. It's a decentralized Swiss franc stablecoin. It's liquid, it's available anywhere, and it has a bunch of really cool integrations which allow you seamlessly to go between fiat, the old world and the new on-chain world. And on top of that, because it's decentralized and because it is built as a so-called CDP, a collateralized debt platform, it also has a native yield. So right now you get about 4% of yield on a Swiss franc, which is actually quite insane if you think about it. On a bank account you get max 0.1%. Actually, it's usually zero, and government bonds have negative yields in Switzerland right now.
Thank you for this recap, first of all, or this intro, maybe is the proper way to say it, about what it is. I definitely agreed that probably the most the best selling point of the Swiss franc is the store of value angle. I know that for me personally, when we talked for the first time and when I started becoming curious about it, it was definitely like, okay, if you don't want to be in crypto native assets and you want to move into a stable coin of some sort, and basically the stablecoin market is still almost completely dominated by dollar denominated assets, which hopefully I think is about to start having some kind of a shift. I think the market is sensing it, and soon when we'll talk about the integration, I think we'll touch on that a bit. And definitely it really got me thinking about, okay, wait, all of a sudden, me as a user, I'll be able to, instead of going to dollar stable coins, whether it's the centralized one or the decentralized one, it's still pegged to the dollar, like either way. And all of a sudden, I'm going to have an opportunity as someone who's not Swiss and not living in Switzerland, to have access to a Swiss franc pegged asset, which is quite remarkable and very useful, especially considering the quite insane metrics that you've mentioned in the past 50 years. I think it's ever since Nixon takes the US off of the dollar index.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But even before that, right, if you think back 200 years, 300 years since kind of the early days of those national currencies, and there's a nice book about it. Maybe we can show it in the video. That the Swiss currency just had this role, in Europe, in a very war-driven Europe back in the 18th century, 19th century, up until today, really.
I definitely think that it opens up a new way for people all around the world. Like, to me, when I try to think about what makes the Frankencoin and ZCHF, the stable coin, so useful and so relevant to users really all over the world, is the fact that all of a sudden, I, as someone who lives somewhere in the world, can all of a sudden have access to a stable coin, which is pegged to probably the strongest and most resilient national currency from anywhere in the world, not related to any kind of centralized authority that allows me to do it, using my wallet on me personally. I use it mostly on Ethereum mainnet, but it's it's started to spread up. I think that soon when we'll start talking about the integrations, we can also touch about the fact that 2025 has actually been the year the Frankencoin has also gone multi-chain. First of all, it was one of the things. So let's actually get to that now. Give us your recap as really the person that's in a way leading these growth efforts for Frankencoin through the Frankencoin Association. what are your thoughts and like how do you review 2025? Are you pleased with the growth that Frankencoin has been having? And just give us like, I don't know, maybe go through some of the integrations and the developments and quite frankly, achievements
Yeah.
that Frankencoin has had this year.
I mean, how do you measure growth, right? That's, I think, the biggest question. And one of the most common measurements of growth in DeFi is TVL, total value locked. And I believe it's a broken metric because if you look at the space, the majority of the TVL is bought. It's basically TVL, which is subsidized from some external money source somehow. And we hear the term straw fire quite often. It leads to a move down the risk rainbow, if you want to use that, or risk curve, or up the risk curve, really. So I try to not use that term, even though we had quite a bit of TVL growth. We're right now, I think, the second or third largest non-dollar, non-euro stablecoin. And obviously the largest ones, and if you look at Euro, this is Euro C, it's just basically outside money which is pumped in. And the bigger ones, they're like a Brazilian BRL, which is kind of, once they're minted, I think 200 million, and then nothing else happens, and there's no alternate activities whatsoever. And the largest one, I think, is like a Kazakhstan ruble
Really?
token, which is somewhere on an off-rack list. So I'm very happy with, especially like usage, like people who are holding the Frankencoin, people who are trading the Frankencoin, who are using it in their everyday lives. For example, with Gnosis Pay, where you can, you just pay in a store. So for me, when I think about growth, what I think about and what I'm really proud of is all the integrations we've done. We've started with a kind of single chain product, which was only available on Ethereum and with some wrap tokens, but in zero liquidity in Rails. And now in December, that was January 2025. And now in December, we are in a world where Frankencoin is available across most, and if not all, of the largest EVM chains. And obviously we're hoping also to be able to grow, for example, in Solana. It's more technical challenge than anything else. So if you shout out there, if you're a good Solana engineer and who would like, and how to work with CCIP, and you would like to bring Frankencoin there, reach out to us. We're more than happy to work with you. But like, we're living in this world where now I can kind of use Frankencoin as my full on-chain bank account. I don't need a bank anymore. I can pay every day using Gnosis Pay with my Visa card. I have an IBAN, which is the newest, I would say, kind of feature Frankencoin has, which was just released a week ago, I think.
By Mt Pelerin.
By Mt Pelerin, exactly, where I get a personal IBAN and I have zero fees. I can just receive and send money between the kind of traditional financial system and the on-chain financial system with zero friction. I have integrations with places like SPAR, a large Swiss supermarket chain, where I can, in almost all SPAR stores in Switzerland, I can just go and pay natively with Frankencoin. I don't need to worry about a Visa card or high fees or whatever. I use my wallet, I go there, I scan the QR code, and I pay. And there's other, retail chains looking at it because it's quite interesting for them. It solves a problem, which is merchant fees, right? It's obviously a lot cheaper to offer directly on-chain payment integrations instead of having to work with the likes of in Switzerland, there would be Visa, MasterCard, with what's it called, with the processing companies in the backend. But then on the other side, we also have a lot of really cool DeFi integrations, right? We've one thing I'm very proud of, we're one of the first users or kind of launchers of the new Curve FX swap product.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Which we're working very closely with the Curve team to basically bring extremely efficient markets to DeFi, which is based on multi-year research they've been doing, and kind of this is one of the perfect spots where you can use that, right? The dollar Swiss franc pair, which is live, which is growing very, very handsomely, which has amazing returns. Like it's in Curve, if you want to become part of that pool, the APR is pretty crazy. But that is just the base. We're continuing to build this out, because one other, I would say, this is probably, I'd say that the biggest achievement for me this year is this whole launch we did with Gnosis, where you have this end-to-end integration with Gnosis Chain, with Zeal, with CowSwap, and that is just tremendous. Also, like how we see the user growth on that side, how the inflows we get and the flows we see from people, not to speculate, because the Frankencoin is not a speculative project. That's the point, right? You get 4%, which is amazing,
Yeah.
but it's not 100x type of looping degen strategy. It's kind of safety. You go into Frankencoin because you want something which is stable. You want something which protects your wealth.
Yeah.
And just to see this working out and happening is really, really cool to see. So that would be probably one of the really big achievements.
Okay, for those learning about it now for the first time, for example, or for those who don't understand it exactly, can you give us your short summary on what this, and I agree, it was definitely one of the highlights of the year for Frankencoin, in my opinion, as well. What is the new Gnosis-Zeal Mt Pelerin integration, as it started like a few months ago, I think we've launched it. What does it actually mean for a user?
I mean, for a user, imagine it as Revolut on chain. And what you get as a user, this whole complexity is abstracted away. I call this the Lego of monies, where you have many cool components which do different things, and they're built into one. So what it is for you as a user is you download an app on iOS or an Android. In this app, you have a bunch of things.
That's the Zeal app, correct?
That's the Zeal app, exactly. So in this app, you have a bunch of things. You do KYC, you have to do KYC, unfortunately, if you want to use the full extent of it, because that is how regulations work, but it's available to almost all around the world, I think, at least on the Mt Pelerin side. But what you get is you get an app, and in this app, you have an IBAN, or two IBANs, actually, a Euro and a Swiss franc IBAN, which allows you to just send money there, and then for free, 0 fees, you get Frankencoin out of it. You then have the option to save those Frankencoin, where you get 4%.
It's not only saving, that's earning, actually.
Right? We call it saving, but in fact, what it is, it's a DeFi yield, which the Frankencoin system pays out to its savers. You get 4% in the Swiss franc. And then those Swiss francs you can use directly, because in that same app, what you also have integrated, you have a Gnosis Pay Visa card, which currently has up to 5% cashback on top of that, by the way. So you can pay your everyday expenses with it. So you have kind of this, and it's all self-custodial. So you don't rely on a bank. You don't have to worry of any kind of exchange going down. It's all completely on-chain. It's your code, your keys. They've built a really, really nice social recovery, so it's very easy to use. You don't need to worry about losing your keys, losing your phone. If you lose your phone, you can securely, through kind of the hardware security iOS and also Android is offering now, with the passkeys, you can restore your account. So it's really built also for people who are not crypto native, and to start using those benefits. So in the end, imagine it's a fully decentralized, self-custodial Revolut, which is, really accessible around the world, with on and off ramps integrated at 0 fees, card integrated with really attractive yields and really attractive cashback as well on top.
Yeah, for me, the fact that now someone can hold Frankencoins, the ZCHF, and immediately use them, and not having to transition them themselves or do any kind of other actions in order to enjoy the full pack of the Swiss franc. And only in the minute that you want to actually do the purchase, it automatically converts. For me, that's definitely a game changer. Before we continue, you want to touch on anything else about the FX swap by Curve? I know that this is also, to me at least, it seems like one of the biggest milestones of the year, especially when I think that, on-chain FX is, in my opinion, going to be big. But I think that Frankencoin is uniquely positioned even within that niche, because most on-chain FX are going to have mostly, in my opinion, local use cases. And Frankencoin actually, I think the global use case of the Swiss franc stablecoin is probably even larger than just the local one, which is in its case also actually a huge one because of what Switzerland is.
Yes. I mean, the FX swap is, I think it's the end of not the end, the beginning. It's not the end. It's the beginning of a long process, but also the end of another long research process, which what I wanted to say, but of really this existence of on-chain FX. Now, if you look at the traditional world, FX markets are the largest and most liquid markets in the world.
Wow.
And right now, on-chain, not so much. And the reason is because traditional AMM models, which don't have a centralized order book, are notoriously capital inefficient. And they also have this problem of capital fragmentation. And they guarantee a price. You guarantee to have kind of some liquidity in some form and a price, but you don't have very good spreads because of that efficient, right? The capital efficient needs to be paid somehow. And the Curve FX swap changes that game completely, where you suddenly have extremely tight spreads with relatively small. I mean, I can give you the example. I think right now we have about 4 million, if I'm not mistaken, on Uniswap, and I think it's 800,000. No, it's less, probably even 400,000 on the Curve FX pool. The spreads on the Curve FX swap pool are tighter than the spreads we would find on Uniswap.
And that's because of like the way the pool is designed by the Curve team?
Yes. The way the pool is designed, which works worse for highly volatile pairs, which, like meme coins or crypto, which is where AMMs originally come from, but it works really well for, pairs with relatively small volatility, such as, US dollar, Swiss francs.
Shout out to the Curve team, first of all. It actually brings me to two topics that I want us to touch briefly before we wrap up. I know yet you have a lot of additional work to do. But first and foremost, we were just on our South America Frankencoin tour. It was the first time that for me that I got the opportunity to join you and do some content around it, document some of what you've been doing. And I know that that's actually how we first met, by the way, when you were in the conference in Israel, and we met. And I really realized that you're going all around the world to these conferences and really spreading the message of the Swiss franc. And I'm curious, like, what kind of response of the Swiss franc stablecoin, to be exact?
Well, it's the same, right? I'm when I go to those conferences, I often talk about like the Swiss franc because that is the big thing, right? What we're building is we're using really innovative techniques and tools, but that the techniques and tools are just enabling something. But what we're really bringing on chain is that value of the Swiss franc, and that value of the Swiss franc. That's really my message. Where that's also.
What are some of the responses that you were getting? Like, how do people all over the world respond? What's the kind of the feedback? What's the level of interest from?
Yeah, I mean the level of interest is widely varies. It's funny enough. It's the more sophisticated someone is, the bigger it is. Because people think about, like I think in crypto or like in degens, people think about yield, right? More yield, more better. But what they don't really think about is the other side of that equation, which is why do you have such a high risk-free yield? It's because the asset itself is devaluing, and so this this one graph I always show. Maybe you want to show it on a screen now, of the dollar versus Swiss franc, and I'm saying, look, this 80% devaluation that the dollar had against the Swiss franc. People go, oh wow, I did not know that. And I was presenting at the Stable Summit in Buenos Aires recently, and after my keynote, people came up to me, it's like, wow, dude, like this one graph you're showing is just like, you should just only show that graph and nothing else, and everyone would get your thing, your value proposition. But it's not well known yet, and maybe Switzerland is doing quite a good job in not making it more well known, because the Swiss National Bank has, their interest is obviously not to like make the Swiss franc more valuable, because Swiss is an export nation. So it's actually not that easy to get a hold of the Swiss franc unless you're ultra net worth individual with anyways a Swiss bank account. So what we're bringing with the Frankencoin is really just like something new, which people cannot access that easily normally, and which just
Definitely.
is a place where you can put your hard-earned cash, and that is finally something where people have a very, very positive reaction to.
Yeah, definitely.
In a sense, you could say we're the counterpoint to all the meme coins.
It is in a way like the opposite of a meme coin, in a way, the Frankencoin.
Yes.
Despite the funny name, in a way, actually, the Frankencoin is pretty much the opposite of a meme coin. It's in a way, I think it aims to be like the perfect stable coin, like a stable coin that is actually stable, actually retains value, and actually enables you all the uses of money.
Yeah.
When you really need like a non-crypto native asset, like not
The really stable coin. I remember
yeah, it's a good
a while back I said, and I still stand by, like, we're Swiss, we're boring. That's all right.
It has its advantages for sure. And for a stable coin, I think that the one thing that you want from a stable coin, no matter what the asset that it's pegged to, you want it to be boring as possible, and to never fluctuate and move. Otherwise, it's just not doing its job.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's what we're really for, and that's really the message which I'm bringing out there. And it's brought us a really cool community. It's brought us a lot of also really cool community driven initiatives. I mean, I can't share all of them yet because they're in the making, but there's a lot of really cool stuff coming, going out into kind of the deeper DeFi fields.
Because that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. Actually, I know that you have a lot of things that you're already working on, and I'm curious, like anything that you can share towards 2026. So much in the world, as someone watching and witnessing at least some of it from the inside, I must say that I'm very excited about it. And do you think that's anything that you can already like share, at least like directionally?
Yeah, I mean,
Like small hits, give the audience something.
Sorry, it goes in two complete opposite directions. You maybe want to say. So I wanted, like, that we're working hard to making Frankencoin more accessible to a non-crypto crowd, which might sound a bit oxymoron, or like.
No, that's actually a great point. Like it's a very important market to tap in.
Yeah. So we're like integrations with more the traditional financial system. We're working on that. There's 2-3 really cool projects which are very concrete, which we're working on, which did take a bit longer because you always have the regulation, you have the compliance aspect a lot more, which you need to take into consideration. So that's definitely something we're quite or knee deep in. And then completely on the other side, right? There's various, and that's why I mentioned like community initiatives, right? Where community members approach and say, "Hey, I actually want to do this." So you might have heard that the certain large American exchange is listing many projects which are on their attached decentralized exchange. So we're working kind of close with them to make that happen. Let's see when that comes out. We're also with other large DeFi protocols in cooperation to build stuff, for example, that you can use the Frankencoin as a collateral. Maybe you want to go short dollars, right?
By holding Swiss francs, you kind of are.
Exactly. Yeah, well, but you want to leverage that. So if you have collaterals, and you can then borrow dollars with that collateral and sell those dollars, and you loop that. You leverage your short dollar positions. In fact, what we're building with that is an on-chain FX market. It's super commonplace in the traditional world. But that's what that's the direction we're going. We're also doing some interesting stuff on the collateral side, right? Where Switzerland has a very advanced legal framework to do RWAs. And obviously for us, the best RWA is a Swiss franc denominated RWA, which is yielding, 2-3%, and which is very little volatility. That's our sweet spot. And that's another big topic we're working on, which definitely in 2026 we will hear more about.
Incredible. Any final message that you want to send the audience with to conclude 2025 and the upcoming holidays?
I mean, I can just say thank you, because I'm just the part of the Frankencoin Association. We're a steward, you could say. We don't control the project. We don't control the protocol. This is a decentralized project which is made up by its community, and you are the community of Frankencoin. And I want to thank you for being part of this journey and making my life so cool, and giving me also the chance to have this amazing job I have, and you're sharing with you what we from the association side believe, how we could improve and build out the Frankencoin protocol even more. So from us to you, a very, very big thank you, and happy end of the year. And if you have any questions, as usually, where to find us. Join our Telegram group, and let's be in contact. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, DAdvisoor, for taking your time and being here with us.
Oh, it's an honor for me. Thank you so much for the invite and the hospitality. And I join your message by saying thank you first of all, and the rest of the members of the Frankencoin Association for giving me this opportunity. I'm very excited about it, and I think that it's not only a huge honor for me, but a huge opportunity as well. I'm very excited to be a part of the community and this Frankencoin journey on a project that I really believe can bring a lot of utility and is very useful to people all around the world. And really looking forward to 2026 and to the upcoming developments. And just like Johannes said, guys, try to if you're into it, try to be as active as you can, participate, let us know what you think, let us know what you think should happen. Feel free to reach out, whether it's on the Telegram group that's going, whether it's on X or anywhere else that you can find, whether it's to Johannes, which is extremely responsive, I think, actually, for a managing director, for sure, whether it's me or anyone. We want to hear what you have to say and how, like your ideas. And really, have a great year. Happy holidays, everyone. And see you soon.
See you soon.